Hey everybody, we just wanted to show all of our viewers in northern Michigan the Natural Bridge. At one time this was owned by Thomas Jefferson, and he said this was one of the most beautiful places on earth that he had ever traveled. I was reading the sign back there. He bought the bridge and 157 acres of property around it for 20 shillings. And that is about $2.40 in our money today. So I'd say Thomas Jefferson got a steal of a deal. Beautiful, and we'll add some clips and some footage from the other side of the bridge and from the Indian village to this. But we wanted you to enjoy it in northern Michigan, and this is where Angie and I love to come, Virginia. God bless you. See you later on down the road. As you can see, this is an amazing place here. Angie, go ahead and get a shot of it. Our God is a God of creative wonder. The handiwork of God right here. Natural Bridge in the great state of Virginia. Come along. As you can see, the schools in the area and all over the country bring the kids to learn all the history, and I think that's a good thing. And that's one thing I love about the state of Virginia, is they do a good job of keeping history alive. And all of us, most of us, let's say, our families either started in Virginia or Pennsylvania or Massachusetts. And that's where the first of the immigrants came. Back before this was the United States of America. And so to see kiddos like this out here is a joy to my heart. So we've come down a ways from the Natural Bridge. We're here at the Monacan Indian Village, and this is what you would see back in the old days if you were riding through here or walking through here on a horse or walking or however. When you come upon the Indian villages, they look just like this. This is a replica of what one would have looked like. We're going to go into that village and show you some pictures from inside. Breeze back here, eh?
Well, I tell you, right now we're enjoying as much of this cool weather as possible, because as we get into the season here, it's just hot down here.
How much of this stuff is period?
Well, it's all period reproductions.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there's nothing here that is 300 years old.
No.
I honestly don't believe. All of the items here are, which come from the state archive, are carefully researched, and particularly to our particular time that we represent, 1699. Hatchets and axes and.
So the Monacan Indians would have been here when, like, say, my family came from Ulster in Northern Ireland, 1699?
They weren't here. Well, yeah.
Because they started coming in 1690. My people did.
Scots-Irish, sure. But there are no white people here until 1732.
1732, when actually the white people came to this location.
First white settler.
Yeah.
Down the Great Road into like Roanoke is 1735, Big Lick. Two fellows from Pennsylvania. But by the time these Scott-Irish settlers begin to arrive in the region, German settlers, the local Indians are gone. They're on the other side of Blue Ridge and around Lynchburg. Others have migrated on to the north.
So they went from the Natural Bridge area over to Lynchburg.
Well, you see, here's the thing. Natural Bridge was known as Mahomany to the Indians. There's never any evidence of any villages. There was a burial ground associated with the Natural Bridge, which said Mahomany. There is no evidence that they ever lived here. No evidence they lived anywhere around here. As a matter of fact, there's no archaeological evidence of late woodland occupation in the Great Valley, or what we call Shenandoah today.
Right.
However, you go right down this creek here to the James, to that floodplain, and there were towns up all go on to where Big Lick, Roanoke, on the Roanoke River, towns up the New River, towns, Smith, the Dan, towns, Lower Roanoke.
So they just use this as for like religious purposes, ceremonial. Seems like for a burial ground. Yeah. It's interesting.
Presumably,
Yeah.
because we really don't know.
Right.
Whatever graves that were located adjacent to the bridge were destroyed in the 1950s.
So it wasn't the Monacans that the settlers in Lexington had problems with. It was another band altogether.
Iroquois from the north.
Iroquois from the north. Because there's a big battle right there, almost at Glasgow.
That's their big battle. It was a skirmish.
Yeah.
It was a skirmish. It was not a big battle at all. It was a small group of Indians encountered a bunch of frontier ruffians, and they shot at each other.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
And now Glasgow lays claim to the big legend. Yeah.
But you see, that's the irony of it is, you go right down to Arcadia. You know where Arcadia is located?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There was Anna Rennick, and a number of these others that were kidnapped by the Shawnee in 1756. Just like the Mary Draper Ingalls story, the New River, taken back to Shawnee towns and villages. That fellow down there, I don't know where he's at right now, Rob, that's his great-great-great-grandmother.
That's right.
And now, they had a great-great-uncle that was born in a Shawnee wigwam. That's his relatives.
That's interesting.
Exactly. That's real history.
Right. And not legend.
Right. That's real history.
Well, both sides really wanted to emphasize their point of view. So
Yeah, and
things get a little bit embellished.
yeah, it's like, I tell you, it's interesting. I had working with different local groups around here over the years. One of the things we were working on was the Lewis and Clark Legacy Trail, which was shot in the dark to begin with. But dealing with Buena Vista and Glasgow are trying to bring that to them as well. So I made a lot of people mad. I said, look, dudes, I said, first off, I said, it's hard, far enough stretch trying to bring it here.
Yeah.
You want to take it over there. I said, that's even harder. I said,
They can prove over on the Little Missouri.
But you see,
way over there.
Well, but you
How
see,
about
both
here?
Lewis and Clark, they had Lewis and Clark were both originally their family, Albemarle County, 2 counties over. But Botetourt County was also the home of Lewis's and Clark's as well. They're all related. Now, Judith Clark is the Judith River in Montana is named for Judith. She's right at Fincas. This is his cousin.
So they had roots
They're all
here,
connected.
but they didn't necessarily, the trail didn't necessarily go through
Absolutely not. When Lewis came through here again in 1807, stayed in Lexington, went on upstate, stayed at Augusta, on to Monticello, back to see Jefferson again. And Clark would come in and pass through the region a year later, and he ended up dead on the Natchez Trace. So, it was difficult, but to grab what is pertinent and what is real. And it's like I told him at Glasgow. I said, you have the original house at Johann Petrosada constructed, stone, still standing here. That's the first white settler. Why is that not a big deal?
Right. They want to make...
Why is that not a big deal?
Yeah, I got you. What's your name, man?
Dean Ferguson.
I'm Len Paxton. Nice to meet you.
Hey, Lynn, it's my pleasure, sir.
Nice to meet you, brother. Hashtag keep history alive. Hey, so now we just left the replica Indian village, and incidentally, we have some of that conversation with the guides, the living historians, hashtag keep history alive, that we'll be showing on the telecast here, just a brief snippet from that conversation. But actually the Monacan Indians never had a village in this area. They're using that as a place to demonstrate what life would have been in surrounding areas where there were villages. But here at Natural Bridge, it was just a burying ground for the Monacan peoples. Iroquois from the north would have been responsible for the raids on Glasgow, and I don't know, a few years back we came to you from that field where that skirmish was held. This guy called it a skirmish. The residents of Glasgow called it a major battle. To them it probably was. Anytime it happens to you, it's a big deal. But we're going to get a little pan of this little area, which would have been a perfect place to come down and grab some fish out of the river and make a fire and have your supper if you were living off the land back in those days. And we're talking late 1600s. The village was representative of about 1699. So Angie, go ahead and get a shot here for the audience. And let me encourage you again as we close out this clip, do your best to become involved in educating this generation of the history of our country, the history of your family. Get involved with groups that are bringing history back to life, because so much can get lost if we don't keep the stories coming and keep it fresh and new and interesting for our young people. Let's march forward into the future as Americans, as Christians, and God bless the USA. So this is a great cave. They've got it fixed where you're not supposed to go in there, but this is representative of many caves and systems of caves that are in the area. And I guess the thing that would prevent me most of all from going in there would be you don't really know what's living in there. And they do have bear here, so you want to be a little bit careful. We'll go back across this bridge and we'll head over to the waterfall.